Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Sir Adrian, for that for the excellent horizon scanning. And good morning to you all. It's great to see such a good turnout for this conference. This is actually the second one-day event that we've done with the University of London International Programs in this room. And we're very happy to be able to work with Tim and Tom and everyone on that team, and this time also with the Leadership Foundation for Higher Education. It's been great to work with them all. I guess most of you will know at least something about the Observatory. We're a research and monitoring unit located within the International Graduate Insight Group, or iGraduate, which itself is now part of the Tribal Group. We provide data and analysis for institutional leaders and policymakers so that they can try to shape their own strategies successfully to the changing landscape in international higher education. And so this conference certainly fits the bill in terms of changing landscapes. At the Observatory, we're currently working on the use of agents for international student recruitment. We've collected loads of data from universities in many countries, and we aim to release it by the end of next month. It'll be a comprehensive picture of how agents are used internationally. So I think I'll leave the self-promotion there and talk a bit about MOOCs. We wrote a short paper about MOOCs and painted in some of the background back in August. It's in your conference packs. And we did an update paper a couple of weeks ago, and things are changing so fast that it's probably already half obsolete. Certainly Coursera will have added many more students in the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, I looked it up yesterday. They've added 250,000 since the 21st of January, from 2.3 million then to 2.56 million yesterday. And yesterday, in 12 hours, they added 8,000 students. So this is a moving target, but I'll try to make a few brief observations about MOOC developments over the last year, and as Sir Adrian suggested, focusing on the process of integrating the MOOC completion certificates into real university credit and making that into a formal, a new revenue stream for universities. And so that process is basically a game changer in terms of what is driving this juggernaut forward. The ideal, when the phrase MOOCs first emerged, was about widening access to elite courses. Daphne Koller described Coursera as a public good mission and as a real democratization of higher education. Well, they sound like very good things. But can it still be about widening access when the most important developments suggest it's part of the search for new business models and competitive positioning? There's not just one single answer to that. Sir Adrian mentioned the University of London's long-standing commitment to access, which is what the international programs are still about. I don't see why an explosion in new online pedagogies needs necessarily to compromise that. And similarly, you have edX, which is run on a not-for-profit basis by wealthy universities. But on the other hand, widening access does not seem foremost in everyone's mind, as we will see in the next few minutes. I should also say that whereas the MOOCs phenomenon itself was the core inspiration for running this seminar today, it's not exclusively about MOOCs, as you can see from the program, and the work of everybody who's on the program here today is broader than that. So you have, for example, Jeff Borden from Pearson E-College, for example. He'll be looking at technology and teaching methods that might include MOOCs, but it's more wide-ranging. We also have John Zefrev from the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya. UOC have been doing 100% online teaching since 1995. What don't they know about online teaching? But I think their mentoring model, the closeness of their mentoring model, is partly almost alien to the massive bit of the MOOCs. And John will facilitate one of the World Cafe breakout tables after lunch, excuse me. Okay, so I'll just do a couple of updates with these three main MOOC companies. And I'll start with the one with the silliest name. In the summer, a distinct feature of the Udacity model was that it appeared to have no university affiliations. Well, it now has a number of them. In September, it was announced that Colorado State's online campus would give full transfer credit for Udacity's course, Introduction to Computer Science. And that tied in with an earlier announcement that Pearson VUE would provide proctored, which I assume means supervised, exams for Udacity courses. And that was originally introduced, this Pearson VUE thing, was introduced as an optional final step, but when formal credit at a university is involved, it's mandatory. And the cost of that exam is $89. And even before that, last June, it appears that 4 German universities Salzburg, Freiburg, Free University of Berlin, and the Technical University of Munich may have been the first institutions to award credit for a course taken through Udacity. Now, I've only seen a single news story about that, so I'm not actually 100% sure about it. But a few weeks ago, Udacity announced a new partnership with San Jose State University, which is part of the California state system, for a series of remedial courses in algebra and statistics. And apparently, the California state governor was the driving force behind that in response to the fact that half the students entering the state system cannot do basic maths. And the course involves videos and interactive quizzes and things like that, and costs $150 each. San Jose State also has arrangement with edX, the not-for-profit edX. It's a blended and flipped classroom arrangement of the type mentioned by Sir Adrian. You know, you watch your lectures for homework, and the homework is done in the classroom. Students will get the MIT Circuits and Electronics course online through the edX platform, and in class they will do the problem solving. San Jose also, very interestingly, reported that the flipped students sat a more difficult autumn midterm exam and performed significantly better in that exam than students on the traditional version of the course. edX is doing something similar with 2 community colleges in Massachusetts with funding from the Gates Foundation. In October, edX announced accreditation plans with the University of Texas system. That's a very big system with 15 universities and 190,000 students. They want to use edX to develop their own MOOCs to get students through college more quickly and for less money. And they're aiming for a $10,000 bachelor degree. The courses will be introductory ones, again, as alluded to as a future thrust by Sir Adrian. Access will be open to anyone, but the universities will charge students actually enrolled at Texas to redeem their certificates for credit. The Coursera website currently shows 217 courses and lists 33 partner universities. Edinburgh's 6 courses, including its Introduction to Philosophy, it's not all STEM stuff, started last Monday and apparently have some 200,000 students between them registered, 300,000. That's pretty impressive. But quite separate from these formal partners of Coursera, last October, Coursera made a licensing agreement with the private not-for-profit Antioch University, through which MOOCs from Duke and Pennsylvania will be offered for formal credit to students at the Antioch's Los Angeles campus as part of their undergraduate degree. Now, Inside Higher Ed said that was one of the first instances of a third party putting a MOOC into its curriculum for credit as a means of lowering study costs. So, but is that still a MOOC? I mean, it's no longer free, and Antioch students, they're going to have to pay, but they'll pay a lower fee. But we can see how the original ideal is already changing. Coursera is going to need to find itself some revenue streams, and that's one of them right there. And that's also revenue for universities too, though Duke said it was not doing it for the money. As we pointed out in our recent paper, that's not so hard to say when your endowment was worth $5.6 billion last June. There's another one, University of Washington, another Coursera partner, offers 2 versions of its MOOCs. One you can take, its information security and risk management course. One you can take for free through Coursera, and then you can do an enhanced version for a fee, and that's credit bearing. The credit version includes more interaction with an instructor and some additional assignments, things like that. And you can start in the free version and you can upgrade to the enhanced version, to the credit bearing version. And you only need a tiny number of students to register for the fee bearing version for the whole thing to break even. Another big development is that the American Council on Education is evaluating courses from all of these MOOC platforms to determine whether or not they are credit worthy. A positive evaluation would make the courses eligible for university credit at the institutions that accept the ACE recommendations, which currently number some 2,000 institutions. And that appears itself to be a pretty important development in the evolution of American MOOCs. There's other things starting up beyond the main MOOC platforms. eCornell, top left corner there, that's the online part of Cornell. That is doing a 2-step MOOC. The first part is free, but in order to get a certificate, you complete a second course at $1,200, which is 1/3 the usual cost. Academic Partnerships, an American company represented here today, I think, is doing something similar with an initiative called MOOC 2 Degree. Universities offer free courses as appetizers for fee-paying online degree programs. If students continue on and register for the degrees, the MOOC they already did counts as credit. The New York Times said that could be a lifeline for public universities hit by declining state funding. Quite different is Semester Online, which is a consortium of 10 American universities, including some Coursera partners like Duke and Vanderbilt. This autumn, they will offer courses online for credit using a shared platform, but it won't be free. The fees will not be cheaper than normal, and the numbers will be capped, so it won't be massive either. Nonetheless, I have a feeling that one's going to have some legs. And there's the top right-hand corner, there's the bizarre one called Minerva that says it's going to be like Harvard for kids who couldn't get into Harvard. But the closest it's got to Harvard so far is to get the backing of Larry Summers, who's a former Clinton Treasury Secretary who had to quit as Harvard president for saying silly things about women in science and engineering. Its website says that fees will be, quote, less than half of those of other elite American universities. Other elite American universities. I love that bit. Bottom right corner, FutureLearn. Here in the UK, we now have a MOOCs consortium called FutureLearn, or at least we will do. Where it's coming from, advisors at the Department of Biz perhaps told the university's ministers that things were really hotting up in the States, as they usually are, and that we need to keep up over here. The group of 12 universities is led by the Open University. They've indicated a free course model rather than the fee-paying semester online model. And it's a research-intensive group. 8 are from the Russell Group and 2 from 1994. So will a UK-branded MOOC platform attract a lot of punters? I don't see why it should not. UK universities already do that. Though I guess the various members will have to decide why exactly they're doing it. Maybe they're not all doing it for the same reasons, and maybe Sean can tell us why Exeter's doing it later on. In the UK, I'm not clear as to whether, Sean probably knows the answer to this too, it's not clear as to whether or not public funding is involved in that. But in France, there will be public funding for a new France Digital University, which is a new initiative there. There's also things afoot in Spain involving a number of university grouping, and including Santander and Google. In Australia, the Australian newspaper reported before Christmas that Deakin would launch its own MOOC with a view to developing as a recruitment vehicle for its credit-bearing programs. It also reported that the University of Western Australia would this year offer smartphone versions of free online courses using an open source platform at Stanford called Class2Go. Back in the summer, it seemed one of the big questions was how quickly the MOOC completion certificates would be integrated into formal credit. Well, as we can see, it's already happening. So the answer to that is pretty quickly. The second big question, it seemed to us, was about how MOOC methods may impact on pedagogy at traditional providers and at online providers. Maybe a little less quickly there because there's a lot at stake. In terms of how disruptive it will be, the smart money may be on innovations in blended learning using the flipped class model. And that model combines disruption with continuity. It depends on the continuing relevance of pedagogy that is tied to research and that supports critical analysis or hands-on laboratory work. But if you're an institution that relies primarily on disseminating information, as opposed to creating knowledge, and doing that with face-to-face methods, you may have less recourse to such an evolution, and there's going to be unceasing pressure to cut your costs using the internet as a dissemination vehicle. There's also every reason to believe that the flipped class model will be used collaboratively, shared between universities. And I'm not just talking about sharing an online platform like Coursera or FutureLearn or Semester Online. I'm talking about sharing the introductory course content, the lecture theater parts, and that could leave unaffected the value-added teaching and learning, but it will not leave unaffected the number of jobs in the sector. Things might be moving fast at the moment, but that kind of drama is going to take time to work out because there's people and there's institutions with real interests. Some people celebrate the fact that technology is a great equalizer and that nothing can stop the technology driving these changes in higher education, but others say that the future of higher education is going to be less egalitarian. The elite are still going to get elite education. The majority are going to get something quick, cheap, and easy. edX says that its ultimate goal is to provide access to life-changing knowledge for everyone around the world. Now, as a not-for-profit operation backed by rich universities, maybe it can do that. But the current trajectory of MOOCs is from free online courses to fee-charging, credit-bearing programs, and it's all part of strategic positioning. It's about investments, revenue, jobs, and no doubt some of the current players will not survive. Coursera family, it keeps quite elite company. It's an elite group, but not all the courses are of equal quality, so it seems. It was reported yesterday that Coursera had to cancel a course from Georgia Tech with 41,000 students on it because of technology and design problems. The course was called Fundamentals of Online Education, Planning and Application. It's still on their website. I guess they're going to do it at another time. And just to end on a point made by Sir Adrian, he said one thing that's needed is an analysis of who the audience is for today's MOOCs. This is definitely true. With all the media coverage of MOOCs, there's neither data nor comment on their markets, who the students are, where they are, how that relates to what courses they want, and which ones where are interested in the degree credit as opposed to a little intellectual diversion. Coursera used to have this chart on its website in August that at least showed national origins, but it's no longer there. And we tried to get the three main American companies to give us numbers of origins and things like that for this conference, and we absolutely got nowhere. And if this means that this information is now considered commercially sensitive, then things have changed quickly indeed. Just a couple of quick thank yous. I wish to thank Tim and his team, especially Tom, and thank David Locke and everybody at the Leadership Foundation. They're a real pleasure to work with. I wish to thank Will Archer and our colleagues at iGraduate for their support, especially Rachel Worley. I want to thank the Observatory team who are all here today, Teresa, Chris, and Alex, and thanks to the University of London for this great venue. Thanks to all of you guys. I hope you have an excellent day. Cheers.